Hi guys, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. Myself Gaurav, and I'm here with another video regarding job and internship search strategies. As you know, I've been making video. Last video was talking about like what are the steps you should do immediately after you get your job interviews over now. And also I've been making videos on how to approach recruiters, what are the questions to ask. Now in this video, I want to burst all the myths regarding the job interview that are surrounded by you and that makes you negative, or some of the points which I want to highlight that this is the way it is done and this is not the way it is done, like what is actually the truth, and we are going to debunk all the myths regarding the job search process. As you know that the job search itself, it cannot be done by just making one type of resume or just making one type of cover letter. That's not actually true. What you will need is one piece of job advice would not be sufficient enough to just crack an interview or get a job interview. So you will have to identify those specific points, you will have to work on those specific points, and then you will need to focus and rebuild your weaknesses, strengths, or whatever it might be, and then target that specific job. But before we go ahead, I want to make sure that not every piece of advice you get is related to you, because you might be facing some situations which are different than the other situations. So make sure that your situation relates to that job advice, because there are plenty of job advice out there and I don't want you guys to make a wrong move. So make sure that situation is implicable to you and act accordingly and take that piece of advice. It's not like just networking to one person will help. Sometimes applying online might help, and it's various strategies which are out there, but you need to select one which is relevant to you, which is very specifically which applies to you. So it's really important that you guys understand and also do not take the advice which is not applicable to your situation where you are going through. So in this video, I'm going to explain you what are the myths and what are the things which you should consider and what you should ignore, because it's highly important. Before you get any job advice, you need to know that what are the myths and what are not, and in this video we are going to do that. So if you want to know what are the myths that should be avoided and also what are the things you should consider, please keep on watching. Number one, professional recruiter on an average spends 8 seconds to read your resume. Now, this data might have come from many research they might have done on various topics or various professions, that on average they spend 8 seconds to read the resume. But according to me, that's highly inaccurate, because it really depends on the person who is giving attention to your resume, who is reading your resume. Now suppose you have applied for a position, then there might be different kinds of people reviewing your resume. Of course, if it's the first round of interview, then there might not be any person at all. It might be a robot screening it, like a application tracking system which screens your resume. But that is a different topic. Now, what I'm trying to say is that when your resume is given out, when you apply for a job position, there are various sets of group of people who are reading your resume. Suppose a hiring manager is reviewing, then he or she might review it quickly. It might not take 8 seconds, it might take 10 seconds, 15 seconds, or if it's quick, it might take them 6 seconds. It depends. But a technical recruiter, if he is reading your resume, it might go on for 1 or 2 minutes, because he is required to shortlist all the qualities, all the experience you have, because he is the person who will be hiring you, because that's related to something which is technical. So it's really important that you understand that an average reading of a resume won't be 8 seconds. Of course, if it's not a person, if it's a robot, then by ATS system, they might be getting rid of the candidates they don't need, but sometimes that ATS system is useless. Why? Because there are some keywords inserted into the system, and if you don't have that keyword specifically to the resume, they will reject your resume. It's like kind of a inefficient task. If there is a deserving candidate and you don't have that specific keyword in your resume, you will be rejected from that job position. So it's really important to tailor your resume according to the company or the job role you are applying for, to avoid such kinds of misunderstanding via ATS system. If it's not a person, even if it's a person, it's really important to tailor your resume, your application according to each and every employer. Why? Because when you apply for a specific job role, the hiring managers, the hiring recruiters, they are looking for a person who can fulfill that specific job role. That's why they have opening for. So it's highly important to tailor your resume, tailor your cover letter, and provide to each and every individual company. If the job role is relevant, if the job role changes, you need to change your resume according to your experience. I'm not telling you that write whatever is in the job description, but whatever you are specializing in, emphasize on that, so that even ATS system can track that keyword and you won't be rejected. So just have a note that your average reading time of your job application or your job resume depends on the person who is reading that specific resume. It doesn't depend on 8-second rule, 10-second, 20-second. It depends on the person who's reviewing it. So always make sure to not fall into the trap that it will be reviewed quickly and will be rejected, or any negative thoughts like that. Just make sure you tailor your resume and apply to specific role as needed. Number 2, only cover letter should be customized but not the resume. Now you need to understand that some of the person, they don't review the cover letter itself. So why to customize only your cover letter? Your resume is also important, because I'm going to give you an example. Suppose you are applying for a job and you have a cover letter and a resume, but maybe 50-60% people read the cover letter. Don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying that you should not customize your cover letter, you should, but what I'm saying that you should also customize your resume along with your cover letter. Why? Because few people, they don't bother to read the cover letter, they will directly jump onto resume, and resume, if it is not tailored according to the job position, you might lose out that job position. So it's highly important to make sure you highlight key points in your resume. And what you can actually do is, I have a good example, that suppose your resume, you are writing like you completed a project with so and so related to certain types of materials. Now in cover letter, you can write a story behind that highlighted point, like what were the challenges you faced, what were the things you accomplished during that project, what were the strengths which you applied, what were the weaknesses that you identified. You can always write those stories in a cover letter. Like, it is really important to emphasize that you do not use excitement or enjoyed, such kind of words in resume, but you can use such words in your cover letter, and it's really important that you understand the difference. Long story short, I'm just trying to say that customize your resume along with the cover letter, because most probably some people, they don't like to read the cover letter because it's like a lot of generalized thing. They don't know that you have tailored it, but they feel like it's a generalized thing, so they just directly jump into the resume. So it's highly important to tailor your resume as well as cover letter. And in cover letter, as I said, you can do storytelling, and in resume you can highlight those specific points. If you still do not have the time, what I did was I made a portfolio with all my experiences. I had cover letter, I had resume, but I also made my portfolio which describe each and every project I worked on with my diagrams, with my achievements, with my stronger points, and I elaborated like what I did in which project. That was just like a 2 MB file I just attached and sent it to them, but that was very effective because they actually knew what I did in my past project. So always remember, tailor your cover letter along with resume. Number 3, you will never get a job by applying online. You will have to network to get a job. No matter what, networking will increase your potential to get a job. I have seen many cases where people have formally applied to a job position and they have got that job just because they applied online. Now here is the thing, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to say is networking is highly important. But even if you network and you know those people, you will have to formally apply online for the job position. Now take an example. Suppose you networked in an event. You know a person where you are applying your job. Suppose that job profile which you applied for, 60% is relevant to you and 40% you forgot to mention the keyword. Company where you're applying for, they might be having their own system of posting the job and they're shortlisting the candidates. So now suppose you 60% match on that job role where you applied for. Now where the 40% will be fulfilled will be from the networking that you got. Like suppose that resume is went to that company's hiring manager, then they will be taking a look at the candidate 60%. Now they will ask their employees if they know these people. Now suppose on the networking event you talked with a person who was working with the same company, then there is chances that that 40% which was lacking in your application will be fulfilled by that specific person whom you network with or whom you were knowing. It is a combination of online application plus networking. You might have to formally apply online, but if you applied online and if you know someone from that company via networking, your chances of getting a job or getting a job interview will be maximized to 100%. Make sure you also apply online if it's a requirement, and networking, always network whenever possible. Always go to the event for networking. This is really important to understand that it is a combination of applying online and networking. Why? Because most of the companies might have their own job posting criteria. Like even if you know that person, you can't just hire that person. You have to go through that formal process. But once you went through that formal process, and if you have some reference, if you have it in your resume, reference of so and so person in that specific company, they will question that employer, and if the employer says, yeah, I know that person who's applying, you have more chances of getting selected than just a stranger whom they're trying to hire. Number 4, you should always ask question at the end of job interview. Now this is like certain black and white type of topic where if you have time at the end and if recruiter allows you, you should definitely ask few questions to them, and you should be prepared with this kind of question. I'm 100% guarantee, because every recruiter, they ask you at the end, do you have any questions for us? In my last video I have explained what exactly to ask to which specific round of interview, which specific person, and to never repeat the example which you gave in the next. So you should watch that video. But coming back to this topic, if you are not asking any question at the end of the interview, recruiter might assume that you are not interested in job position, because it's obvious, it will look like you are not curious about the job position or you do not want the job. Or other thing which they might think is that this specific job role, you are not quite fit for the job role, but that might not be the case. So it's always better to ask question. Like For example, just ask like, what are the challenges you will face when you will be working? What will be the challenges faced by you within 3 to 6 months of your joining? What are the professional certification or some training will be given to you? You can ask that way. Then you can ask like, how does the team work, and do you give any feedbacks after the project is completed to individuals? Like such kind of productive questions, if you ask, you will definitely be able to grab that job role if they find that you're really interested and you know what you are exactly doing. So make sure you ask those questions. Even if you do not have any questions, you should still ask few questions just to show them that you are interested in their job role and you are willing to know more about them. That's all for this video, guys. You never know what you will be going through. The job applying and job recruiting is very uncertain. You don't know that the hiring manager who's trying to hire you is using his own crappy resume as a reference, or they don't want to hire you. So that there are so many uncertain things. But the time you understand what you are facing for in your job interview, the good you will be. So make sure you understand what you are facing in your job interview, and then you will be able to perform very well, and you will be able to get that job or dream job that you are applying for and which you dreamt of. So always remember that, stay proactive and try these points, eradicate the myths which I explained to you in this video. And that's all, and hopefully you got some more information regarding the job search process, and I enjoy explaining you all these points because it's highly important. As I always say, if you want to know more about it, if you want to see more posts, I'm also on Instagram. You can join me there, and if you have any questions, comment below, or you can DM me on Instagram and I'll reply as soon as possible. So I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.